sometimes when you're learning something, you think, oh, this is easy, and you get a little bit cocky, a little bit too self-confident. You can see what I've done here. See this edge should be there's a sort of extra curve there. The curve's too tight, so I need to flatten that out. So I might be able to bend it out. If I stretch this edge, if I actually deliberately roll the edge, it'll kind of come around and take the tension out of it. It's basically that's been bulged up a little bit too much. So I'll do some diagonal rolling here, and I might actually roll the edge, which will bring it out, and this should bring that round a bit like that, and then that should flatten down. That's the plan. So I was obviously doing too much wheeling in between test fits, and I would have spotted that before it developed really. Right, well, you can see I've already marked out this edge and trimmed it with the nibbler, and it's about 8mm too long, so I can gradually take that back very carefully later on. It'll actually be hidden by the L-shaped channel section here, which will run here, probably be plug welded on from behind, because the original belly tanks had a strengthening rib here, like an L-shaped piece, and the same with the lower half, and then they were kind of bolted together. So that's quite good because it'll hide any kind of raggediness of that edge. And then this edge again needs to be trimmed, which is why this is so useful. It needs to be trimmed in the middle so the other half will butt up to it, so I can do a seam weld all the way along here. Although, as I've discussed before, there'll actually be a hole cut in here for the engine to poke through, and then a aerodynamic fairing here. So this will be a good welding test because the middle bit will be invisible and will actually be cut out ultimately. So the next thing is to trim this along this line. I've protected this with plumber's tape because I'm going to hold the whole panel the other way up and run it through the bandsaw carefully, and I don't want any scrape marks here, although they probably polish out pretty quickly. Well, look at that. That's not a bad fit for the second panel I've ever made, and it's exactly flush with this mock bulkhead as well. And then we're in the middle of this strip where we're going to weld. So I'm going to put the other one on, and I'm actually going to overlap the edge here and scribe, and then if I cut that exactly to shape, they should touch all the way along in theory, ready for a good weld. Right, this is the situation. I've got this panel here forming, and it's supposed to go here, from there to there, and then there'll be a weld up the middle. Now, the problem with that is this bit's easy enough, curve, and then it curves, whilst curving that way, it curves in slightly here and then out to the tail. So that's a reverse curve, and it's of course difficult to do. I made a few mistakes. I've been playing with this. I've got the initial part here, I've got it dipping in here, and I've got a bit of a bulge there, which I don't want. I want it to carry on sort of in that direction. So I've been watching some more videos. Basically, if you have a U-shaped if I just had a U-shaped channel, small piece of aluminium, what I would do if I want to put a reverse curve on it is to put the edges into a stretching tool, and would stretch the edges and it would just start to curve around, so this part would curve up like that. So on this I only need a small curve, so the bottom line is I need to stretch the edges around here to get that to just reverse direction slightly, and then blend it all in. Now you can do that on the English wheel. Normally with the English wheel you don't touch the edges so much because you want to spread the metal out in the middle, like here, to make it bulge upwards slightly and form a curve. So on this occasion I'm going to actually stretch the edges and see if I can get this part to just curve a little bit like that. Right, I think I'm getting somewhere here. You can see we've got the bulge and then it starts to curve in there. And what I've been doing, I'll be honest with you, this one was pretty tricky. You can see the change of shape. This edge was straight when we started, and look at it now. It's a big change of shape, but it fits. That's the thing. So it's fitting onto this ring here. It's also fitting onto that one there and this one, and that's the one where it tucks in. So when we started there was about a gap of that much between that ring and that panel when it was just a curved straight panel. So it's not perfect. There's a few bit of a slight ridge kind of here. Things, if I bring that out then it may just ruin everything, it may ruin the fit, so it's a little bit difficult. So I've got to make 3 more of those. So this time around I'm trying a different approach. I've put a bulge in this end. It's just starting. I haven't curved the panel at all, I've just started flat. So I've wheeled this area to form a bulge. I've then wheeled where we want it to tuck in slightly, the reverse curve. I've wheeled the edge here to stretch it lengthways in a bit of a sort of wedge shape there and there. So in theory, once I curve the panel now this way, these will be longer, if you like, than the middle, so it should reverse curve just a tiny bit. Don't know if it will. So the next thing, it's still more or less flat, is to put the rubber wheel on now and then put some curve on this way and see how it kind of develops. Well, that seemed to be a reasonable strategy, because you can see there's a bow there outwards and then it is tailing in there. I don't know if you can see that, it's just starting to develop. So that seems to be the way forward. This is the 3rd time I've done this. This is a lot better panel. So basically the principles are put a small curve into this with the rubber wheel, then roll out wedges here, lengthening the edges progressively less and less there and there. That will make it kind of bend in just slightly there, and then from there to there we want it to bow out like this one, so it bows out to about here and then it curves in a little bit, helped by these rolled out areas where I've expanded the metal, so it curves in. So if you look at that from the top, you can kind of see how it curves and then it bulges out a bit. That seems to be, well, for me that's what works, because I need this to match that one, because these are going to go on the top, and the previous one, which I've now welded, big learning curve there with the welding, that one will get cut up anyway, because it will go underneath here, and you've got to make clearances for the axles, banjo, differential and everything. So basically the good thing about this project is I can put my good panels on the top and my not so good panels underneath, because it's in two halves. So like I could practice. Right, this is the situation after a lot of panel beating. We've got the two sides here, left and right, and then we've two more panels which have been seam welded along here. Come back to them in a minute. Got two more panels here, and they will form the underside of the tail. So got most of the panels for the back end done. So it's the detail that counts here. So I've seam welded this. It's extremely difficult to get the edges not only perfectly lined up but also perfectly lined up in height. So like you weld here and then there's a dimple here, one slightly higher than the other. Improved it a lot here. This needs grinding down a little bit more, and this is a bit ugly, but it's okay because there's going to be a shroud here, a fairing, which will taper down to about here. So as long as I can make that bit look half decent, which I probably can, the knobbliness here isn't so bad. This will be cut out anyway because the engine will stick through. So that's also true of any weld I do along here, so I might weld these two together. Problem I've got then is this here. Now to weld that is perfectly possible. To weld that and make it completely invisible, now that is a different kettle of fish, and you can see I've spent ages on this. You see how well they fit. So that needs to come up a little, but you get the general idea. There's about a millimetre gap at worst, probably less. See there? That's a really good fit. Now I was thinking what I might do is cheat. Yeah, I could weld that and make it beautiful, but I could also weld that and make it look horrible. I can hide this, I can hide that weld. There'll be a joint here anyway because this panel will lift off, so there'll be quick release fasteners around there. This side panel might come off separately, and then there'll be a nose cone that will kind of either flip up or come off. So the crucial weld in terms of visibility is going to be this one. So as I say, I might cheat. I might go for a strip of metal at the back and flush head aircraft rivets, solid aircraft rivets up here. So if anyone looks closely, they'll see a neat join and they'll see that it's flush aircraft riveted. And while I might use dome head rivets to give it the classic look in certain places around here, I think I'll go for flush here. So it's only the people looking up really close that would see that, and then they go, oh yeah, flush aircraft rivets, that's nice. So that's the plan. And the next thing I've done is these metal strips act as a really good guide for these panels when I want to fix them down along the edge. So I'm going to keep them. At the moment they're only held in place by the wood, so I need to make some kind of brackets to hold them. So I've made a whole load of these, and you see they're quite simple. You'll slide them out as far as you need to until we touch there, weld them to the frame, and then you see that bit will stick down there and form an attachment point for the panel coming up from underneath, because the top panel lower edge. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ready to go, and then I need one here, but it needs to step up and then come across, so we'll work that out last. I've got the other side to do. Well, I've been out here all day and it doesn't look as if I've done much, but actually this is a boring but essential job. You know, all these little mounting brackets, and then I've got this weirdness at the end. I want these to come out as far as possible. I still need to be able to remove the back axle, so this loops over here, so you can undo these four bolts, sorry, still be able to slide off the back axle. There's a curve on this, so I need it to hold the curve, not just flap in the wind, which is why I've got this cross brace. So I might put a little bit of metal in there just to make it tidier, and then smooth it all down. Same the other side, because then I've got the beginnings of something to locate the tail cone to, apart from just the aluminium bodywork. So I mean, it would be nice maybe to keep this kind of bulkhead thing in metal, even if it removed somehow. There's probably going to be a custom fuel tank here. This is the obvious place to put it. And your gear change linkage here with all that kind of mechanism here and a rod down the side. So I'm just planning ahead really. I'm going to try to make this section over here, not the nose cone, that'll be done separately. Trying to do this section all in one piece, so I don't get the welded join down the middle. If you look at the width of it, it's just about possible on this English wheel. If I put it through one way and then go around and do it the other way, it should just about do it. It'll start to curve down here like that. I might have to manually put a bit more curve into it, but it's about the limit of my English wheel. And if you look at the shape, it's almost a straight cone shape here, with just very, very slight curvature on it. If you look at that piece from that section of this rail now, from there to there, it's not quite straight, comes out about a centimetre in the middle maybe, hardly anything. So I need to curve the panel that way, and then I need to put a slight bow in it across its whole length that way. So I'm going to wheel it with the rubber wheel first to put a slight curve in, and then I'm going to use just wheel it back and forth along the whole length like that until I get a slight curvature to the panel, and then use the rubber wheel to bring it round till it fits. That's the plan. The other problem is if you cut the edges roughly to size using the nibbler tool and use the round nibbler, because my other nibbler tool has decided to fail, you get millions of these. If you can see that. And they get everywhere, and they get stuck in your shoe like that. And so my tip is sweep them up straight away and get rid of all of them with vacuum cleaner, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Now if I have this done up too tight here, it'll leave like grooves that way. Each time you wheel it, it'll leave a groove. So I don't really want to do that. I mean, once I've wheeled the panel to get the bow shape to it, they may disappear anyway, but I'm just going to use a light pressure and wheel it more. And you can see if I just wheel this straight now, this corner is going to hit the side here. So I'm going to go in a fan. So if I go like that, you can see I can manage it like that. So you go along parallel to this edge, and I'll just build it up very gradually. See how I get on. So like this. I'll go right to the edge with this because I'm not shaping the panel, I'm just trying to bend it in one way. I'm going to have to remove my camera because I need to come right up to here. Right, there you are. So I've got a reasonably even curve on both ends. You can still see there's some little lines where I've been rolling it, but they're not too bad. And as I say, it wasn't done up very tight, this clamp. So next thing is to roll all this area, avoiding the edges, to stretch the middle to make it bow just a little bit. I've also made another foam template here, so you can see it exactly fits that curve. So I can put it on here and you can see just a tiny amount of curve required, that's all. Okay, it needs more. Right, how are we doing? It's about right, bit of a high spot there if anything. That's the right curve, although there's a little low there. Again, the right curve, it's a bit low there. Right curve overall, bit of a low there. That's pretty good there. Yeah. Okay, so what have we got? This area there's a low. That's because I can't get it into the English wheel, because this starts hitting the this area here. So I have a cunning plan for that though, because I'm going to have an instrument pod here with a circular instrument in it, so the pod will come like that, so I can hide it. Honestly, I was planning that, I didn't just make that up this very second. I've developed now here to match up with the bulkheads. I'll just get a pen and draw from underneath, and same here. So I've rolled that area now, blended it in a bit better, so it's not low anymore. Bit of a bump there now. That's come out really well actually, considering there was some uneven lumps here. I've been wheeling it, just this end, because this bit won't fit into the English wheel anymore, but it doesn't matter because there'll be an engine cut out there for the cover. But this part, I've wheeled it under light pressure, so it just gets stuck where the bumps are and smooths them down, so it shouldn't be stretching the metal particularly. Then I've been using the flap disc with a little bit of beeswax on it. Then I've wheeled it again this sort of way, just to flatten it down. Then I've abraded it again. I've done that 3 or 4 times, and you can see it's been welded, but you've got to look close with you know, a harsh light on it, as it were. I mean, if that was painted, certainly you probably wouldn't notice it at all, and it'll be less obvious once I Scotch Brite it, you know, like this, to give it a matte finish.